The power of no! Exclamation mark. How are you doing on saying no when something is just not right for you? I know setting boundaries is a very challenging task and practice for most of us in the beginning when we start, because we have so many reasons inside that tell us that it's not okay to say no. It's not okay to say no to what's not true for us. And on the flip side, of course, it's not okay to say yes to what we want, what we truly want, and what is our truth, our deeper values. So I was thinking of this little memory from many, many years ago when I was visiting my family in Denmark, which is where I'm from. And I don't remember the circumstances, but something came up, and I could see that one in my family was in the old pattern and was trying to pull me in, totally unconscious. It's not something we do consciously, but it was unconsciously. So when that kind of energy started flowing in a conversation, I would say, oh, I don't do that anymore. And, what is that supposed to mean, right? And then she would still try and engage me in that, old, whatever it is, blaming or making wrong. I don't remember what it was, thank God. But I do remember the incident because it was very powerful for me to actually see that I have risen out of a pattern like that. But so she tried again, and then I say, no, I don't do that anymore. I don't get engaged in these kind of conversations anymore. And then she would do something, then there's this old way of trying to put a little guilt out, it's like, oh, you're just avoiding or something like that. I'm paraphrasing now. And I said, I don't do that either anymore. I just don't do it anymore. And that was the end of the conversation. And it was really, really empowering because I felt clear inside of me what my yes was and why no. It was just very clear because I had done enough of the work to know where my boundaries go, how far I'll go, how close I want to stay. And I was not arguing with my own boundaries inside. That means that, all the voices, all the beliefs, all the memories, all the things that other people want us to do, that's this whole internal process that we're dealing with. And those can be very nasty. They just knock on your door and want to break down your door to make sure that you are under that control of the mind where you stay small, where you're not honoring your own truth, where you're not following your yes. So it was empowering when I finally felt like, wow, I really don't do it anymore because I had kind of made a commitment inside that I'm done. And there is a video I did not too long ago also about, are you done yet? Are you done yet? Because when we are done, I am telling you, there is a peace that comes with that because you're not arguing with yourself anymore. What you're done with is getting into battle with these thoughts. And then, of course, they get externalized, which happens in families all the time. So by not engaging in that conversation on the outside anymore, by saying, I don't do it anymore, it was because I wasn't doing it in here anymore. It was gone and it was over. So once we get that clarity inside of ourselves, then it is really easy to set boundaries. There might be situations, is what I'm just thinking of now as I'm speaking, that there are situations where there might be violence, physical violence, and those situations is different. You need to, of course, seek help for that, because that's not a healthy situation, and those situations may not honor a clear yes in here. I mean, a clear no. So, but otherwise, the more we work on those inner bullies inside, the more they dissolve, the more we get so clear on what is true for us that it becomes very easy to say no. And you might find your own way. For me, it was just like, oh, you know what? I don't do that anymore. No defending, no justifying, just the clarity like, no, I don't do that anymore. And a while ago, this is several years ago, when I had a radio show, I remember I did a show called Saying No and Mean It. And there's kind of a big distinction there. When we say no, but we're not fully meaning it yet because we don't have the clarity in here, we're not solid in our no and what's okay for us. What happens then, and this is probably in the earlier stages of setting boundaries, we defend ourselves, right? We battle for it. We fight for our rights. And that becomes these discussions, these arguments, these battles. And those battles, when we engage in it, is because we are still entertaining a battle in our own self where we have not fully embraced what is true for us and what is okay for us and where our boundaries are. Of course, there is a very important phase where we're learning to set these boundaries. And the only way we can do it often is by, being very forceful about it for a while, because we're still so impacted by the inner bullies that we kind of have to break through that fear, and the fear that it's not okay to say no and set boundaries. So that is what we are breaking through. And then it shows up on the outside when we may get into an argument with somebody where, it may be justified or not. But the bottom line is that we are learning to set boundaries with our own inner bullies. And that is a process. That is a process of learning to listen to what is true for you, for me, for all of us, and then embrace that and be okay with that. It many times means that we need to learn to be okay with being different, having a different experience than others, and the fear that we will be, excluded, not liked, shamed, whatever, criticized. That is all the fear that lives inside of us that makes us get into these outer battles. But once we find peace inside our own battle and basically say, I'm not going to listen to these bullies anymore. I am going to honor what is true for me. And that, of course, is self-love, the way I talk about a lot, because it is a big, big part of my expression. Once we lovingly accept ourselves the way we are, whatever that looks like, different than anybody else maybe, and find peace with that, it is mighty sweet. It's mighty, mighty sweet, because a lot of that battle inside just dissolves, and there's a lot more peace, and there is also a lot more confidence. And that's why when you find that, and you're going to practice saying no, and it's a good thing to practice saying no in a safe environment, maybe with a good trusted friend or a teacher or coach or therapist or family member, somewhere where it's safe to practice it, where you are going to be welcomed and celebrated for saying no when no is indeed your reality. And then then you kind of move through some of these barriers where you feel more space for you. So your boundaries don't have to be right in here. They can go expand a little bit and expand a little bit because you fill up yourself. You know who you are. You're okay with it. You don't need to be any different than you are. And you really don't need anybody to agree with you. Although it's nice when they do. I'm not denying that. But then you start filling yourself up from the inside out. And it's filled with who you are without the battle, without the argument inside, without you not feeling okay about who you are. So can you see when you fill yourself up from the inside with what is your truth and who you truly are as an expression, there's peace. There's a lot of peace. There's no reason to defend it or justify it. And when we still feel the need for justifying, it's because we are still justifying it to ourselves. We haven't fully accepted that this is who and what we are. And then once that happens, then you will just feel okay about saying, I just don't do that anymore. I don't engage in that. I don't like it. It doesn't nourish me. So I don't do it. And I had a little example about that not too long ago with some friends, and they started talking about politics. And there was this bashing of one side and righteousness. And we were driving, and I was kind of in the middle of that. And I don't engage in that very clearly. It goes nowhere. So I said, you know what, guys, could we please not talk politics here? I just don't like it, bashing other people. And it's just not nourishing for me. I just don't do it. And first there was a little bit of like, and I said, yeah, I know, but I just don't like it. And that was the end. I didn't have to make a big hoop out of it. It was just like, yeah, not really my thing. Let's talk about something else. And of course, the conversation went to something much more engaging and uplifting. So I want to invite you to at least consider, finding that clear no inside of you and start embracing it, allow it out, listen to it, get to know your deeper core values and what you do not want to argue about, something you just want to accept. And it's like, this is my truth. And you'll see that life is going to be a lot easier.